We are the Pierre family, and what we love about Poplar Hill Baptist Church is the fact that the church is a Christ-centered church, family-oriented church. We love Pastor Head and his dynamic staff and the powerful, dynamic messages that are delivered to us each Sunday. What do you like, Carrie Michael?
I like the church. What do you like, Angela?
What I like about the church is that every Sunday the choir has uplifting music. What do you like, Gabby?
Well, I like when the youth ministry plays their instruments. What do you like, Ashton?
What I like about the church is when the youth ministry dance performs.
And what I love about Poplar Hill is the fact that they are intimately involved in the community, and that the church is focused on the whole person, and that also that each and every person in my family has something to participate in within the church.
Mr. Clyde A. Johnson Jr.
Clyde E. Johnson.
Clyde A. Johnson Jr.
Well, down here was just bare. It wasn't like it is now. And I can remember as a small child, there was a school down behind here, down the street, and it burned down. And I can remember as a small child, they was having classes in here, in this basement, right back to the back of the basement. And I remember coming here as a small child. I must have been about 5 years old then. So they was having classes in here until they built a new school, and they called that the Buford Colored School.
The new one that they built.
Yes.
And I would imagine that the one that burnt down was for school for colored kids as well.
Yeah, but I can't remember that. I mean, I remember, I sort of remember when it burned down, but I'm not familiar with how it looked. But I remember someone bringing me over here when they was having classes right back there in the back. Here.
How many kids? How many? It was a relative. I would imagine it was a small school at that time. How many kids?
I imagine it was, but when I started the school in the new building, there was quite a few children there. But the only thing that I remember is that at the time that it was built, they did not have inside plumbing. And it was 2 or 3 years before they got it, and I was in about the 2nd or 3rd grade then. But I remember that.
So you had outhouses.
Outhouses. Big outhouse for the boys and one for the girls. I remember that.
Yeah. Wow. And who were some of, when you were at the church, some of the more influential people were probably the deacons, right?
Oh, sure. Just about all of them that I have named. The Bell brothers, Robert, Tillman, and Joe.
Well, what made them stand out? What was being a deacon like back then?
Well, they appeared to be good public speakers, and they would just had different positions in the church. You know, chairman of deacon board and chairman of this and chairman of that, and they was able to connect with all the people, it seems like.
And I would imagine it's sort of like today, but they gave more leadership and...
Yes, it seemed that way. And then some had more schooling than others. You have to remember now, back in those days, you know, people dropped out of school just like my dad. My dad came from another town, and he was only able to go to the 3rd grade. And he was plying mules and doing some of everything until he got to be a grown man. And when we started the school, my brothers and I, we used to try to teach him more how to read better and everything. But by then, at his age, he didn't appear to be as interested in it as we wanted to show him.
But many of the deacons were ones that sort of had
more
more
and they worked for this company here, Bonner Island Manufacturing, and most of them worked there. And there was a lot of work here for blacks at that time, and they came from all these little towns around here to work here. And really, in looking back, it wasn't until 1963 under JFK that things began to open up. Now, like I retired from General Motors after 37 years, but they built that big plant in Doraville in, I think it was 1947. So at that time, many people from around here could have worked there, but they didn't start hiring on a so-called equal opportunity basis until 1963, and that's when I went.
So if you were in Beaufort and sort of the deacons, pretty much everyone worked at this one location.
Yeah, 90% of them worked at the tannery, and some worked at grocery stores. There was other little factories around, but Boney Island was a big company here in Beaufort, and that's what drew a lot of people here.
Right. And the wives of the deacons, what type of roles did they play?
Well, they served on the mother's board. They taught Sunday school. They were singing in the choir and all kinds of things around here in the church. And they was well respected. Everybody liked them. They was good people.
They were good people.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. So do you remember with the day or the time that Pastor Head started at the church?
Yes, I do. I remember when he came, and I was happy to see him because we had between the last pastor, we had 2 or 3 between the last regular pastor and the time that he came, it seemed like. But everybody liked him, and he's been here ever since.
Yeah. Okay. Anything that we left out that you'd like to mention? Any memories that you have of the church that you think would be valuable to share?
No, but I would just like to say, in naming all these deacons, if there were any families that I left out, I apologize for it, because we're going back from the early 1940s to now, and it's almost 2020, so I'm getting on in years too.
That's right. Yeah, I understand. I'm sure everybody would understand.
I mean, I can remember 1 or 2 that passed away when I was a small child, and I can't even remember their names.
Yeah. Well,
They were deacons.
I understand. Well, good. Well, thank you very much. There's some very valuable memories that you've shared. A lot of times the stories that we think are no big deal are a very big deal for people who've never heard them. Yeah. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Have a blessed.
So, Mary Jane Henderson Ingram.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time today and coming in and talking with us. It seems like there's just a wealth of knowledge about the church and the area and the people who played a part in the building of the greater Beaufort area, but the church as well. It's going to be great to sort of go through this content with you. Is there anything that you'd like to say as we get started? What are some of your memories when you first came to the church when you were just a little girl?
Well, my memories, I can't remember exactly when I started because like I was always here. I loved to come to Sunday school every Sunday, and Ms. Lavinia Bell and Ms. Bessie Faulkner were our teachers. And it was probably preschool before I started, even started school. And I remember singing the song, Jesus Loves Me, all the time, often. And I was taught to pray even at a very young age. And was taught that if you're having problems, to pray about it.
Every little kid remembers Jesus loves me. So did you go to church every Sunday when you were a small kid?
Well, when we were small, I went to church every Sunday, but I only went here on the 2nd and 4th Sundays because Poplar Hill only had it on the 2nd and 4th. And Union Baptist had it on the 1st and 3rd. But as we grew up, we were required to go to church somewhere every Sunday.
So two different.
Couldn't go anywhere else.
That's or you couldn't go anywhere else.
You couldn't go anywhere
So
else.
there were 2 churches, Union Baptist and Poplar Hill. And Union Baptist was the 1st and the 3rd Poplar Hill, second and fourth.
Yes.
So as a small child, do you remember being baptized?
I wasn't baptized. I was probably around 12 or 13. And that was because my family didn't believe that you should be baptized until you had a full understanding of what was baptism was about.
I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so what were some of the things when you were a small child out here in Beaufort? I know the area looked very different. The church looked very different. What were some of the programs, like were you guys doing Easter egg hunts and things like that?
Yes, we would have the largest Easter egg hunt in Beaufort. Everyone, the whole community was invited to the Easter egg hunts. And we'd have our Easter programs where we all had our little Easter speeches. And even during the Christmas holidays, every year, which is different from the way things are now, but we had to come to church every Christmas. No matter what day it fell on, we had to come to church.
And Frank Wiley, who was Frank Wiley to you?
Mr. Wiley came later in the years when I was probably like a teenager. But when he started out as the band director at school, but he also became the choir director here at the church, and he was an amazing man. He was really very influential in our lives because he taught us to travel. He took us to a lot of different places and taught us about a lot of different things because our environment had been mostly just here. But he took us to Fort Valley, we were watching parades, Fort Valley, Morris Brown, all of those different places. And we would have our band marches here in town in Beaufort. And it was just wonderful. We had a carnation ball.
Oh, wow.
And that was wonderful. And hopefully one of these days I'll get to show a display of some of the pictures I have.
And so a lot of it appears that a lot of the activity that was going on in the area was here at the church. A lot of the social events and holiday events.
Right. Even when graduation, the baccalaureate would always be here, mostly be here at this church. And we had a lot of great community leaders. The people in the church, a lot of the people in the church also was some of our community leaders. Mr. Robert Bell was on the People's Bank board. We had Mr. Merritt that was on the Board of Education. We had a lot of people that really took interest in the community. We had a group of ladies that were part of the Women in Action that their whole goal was to have activities for our children.
And so there was also a school of some sort here as well, correct? There was a baccalaureate program here at the church or around the church, the school baccalaureate. Was that the dance that
that was what I was talking about, the baccalaureate services that we would have. That's
what
we wanted
here.
to do at our school.
Gotcha.
Instead of having the memorial, which is a baccalaureate is like a memorial for the graduating classes. And we would have our baccalaureate here.
Okay. Do you remember the day or the time that Pastor Head came?
I do. At that time, I wasn't here at the church then. I made a move through the years, but I came back here, and I know that Pastor Head has been wonderful. I had a grandbaby that died when he was born, and I remember the first time that I really spoke to Reverend Head. He came to my door at my house, and he knocked on the door, and I said, he came to the door and he came in and he said, I heard your daughter lost a baby, and one of the members asked me to come and see her. And at that time, my head was hurting so bad that I told him, I said, she's in the back. I said, my head is hurting so bad I can't even hardly stand. And he said, well, let me go and talk to her and pray with her, because she was having her time of depression.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I needed to get her up and try to get her moving, but I was going through a situation also.
Mm-hmm.
But he did come in and he talked to her, and I guess he was there maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, but my daughter got up, put on, went and took a bath. He came and talked to me, and she started moving that day and did much, much better. It was like the beginning of her healing.
Her healing. That's
Yes.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. That's some great information. I'm sure, very few people know some of these stories. People move along and people move out of the area, and being able to share this is just invaluable. So thank you very much for your time. So Mother Joyce Wiley, thank you very much for coming in and talking with us today. What is your earliest memory about Poplar Hill Baptist Church? What comes to mind when you think about it?
Well, what comes to mind when I think about Poplar Hill Baptist Church is coming with my mother on Sundays to get to church.
Mm-hmm.
We would walk from our neighborhood, which is not about 10 minutes away from the church. We would walk with, I would walk with my mother and my brother and children from our neighborhood, and we would walk right past the Bona Allen factory there,
Mm-hmm.
walk across the railroad, walk across Main Street, and walk across the railroad to get here to church, so we could do our Sunday school classes. And when we got here, Deacon Robert Bear, who was the superintendent, would be waiting, and his wife, Deaconess Lavinia Webb, would be waiting for us, and Sister Bessie Faulkner. They were waiting for us to teach us our classes, to
Mhm.
teach us the Word, so we could learn about Jesus. I was in Sister Lavinia Bell's card class, and at that time it was called the card class. And the children would be so happy to be in her class, because every Sunday we would get a little card. It would have a biblical picture on there and a Bible verse. So she would go over that verse with us, and then we would have to memorize that verse and be able to repeat it to her the next Sunday. So that's really how the children in her class learned how to read and learn how to memorize things. So that helped us later on when we went to school. It helped us with our memories and doing things like that.
The card class.
Yes, it was called the card class, but now it's called the primary class. But it was
Mm-hmm.
called the card class because we got those beautiful little cards every Sunday, like I said, with a biblical picture on there and a Bible verse. And we had to learn that Bible verse and be able to repeat it to her, the next Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then if attendance was good all year long, Superintendent Robert Bell and his staff would plan a church picnic, which was so exciting for us. So I remember one year we went on a trip to Lake Altoona, and the main focus of that trip was to go on a boat ride, because none of us had ever been on a boat ride. And we were so excited, and we had the most wonderful time on that trip doing the boat ride. And that was always a highlight.
How many kids was it?
Oh, I'd say it was about 25 to 30 kids and adults.
A big group.
It was a big group. And we went to Lake Altoona. And like I said, we really enjoyed that trip. It was wonderful. And we took so many more, with the Sunday school. And the Sunday school church picnic was a big hit. It was a big hit with the children. And that kept the children, interested in coming to Sunday school every Sunday. So attendance was good.
Where was the picnic? Was it here on the church ground?
No, we went to Lake, sometimes it was. But we went to an area called Lake Altoona.
Oh, you did the picnic at Lake Altoona as well.
That year, that year we went. So we went to different places.
Mm-hmm.
But that year we went to Lake Altoona, which was a big old lake, And we went there, like I said, for
So after the boat ride or the picnic, what happens after Sunday school?
after Sunday school, we got ready for the 11 o'clock service.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where our pastor at that time was Reverend S.M. Bryant. And he delivered the message, of the morning for us. And I would always sit in the amen corner with my grandmother and listen to the sermon. And while he did a wonderful job on teaching us and giving us the message. And then our pianist was Sister Jimmy Lou Porter. The organist was Sister Grace Harris. And they provided the music for us. And we enjoyed the 11 o'clock church service. And then we would come back in the afternoon or later on that evening for a 7 o'clock service.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we had 3 services.
Mm-hmm.
We would come back for a 7 o'clock service, and Reverend Bryant would preach the service again. And then everybody would, we paid our church dues. Everybody would pay, their dues.
Mm-hmm. How many members at that point?
I guess we had around, I would say 200 to 250.
So it's a relatively big church at that point.
Yeah, it was. And our congregation was divided up into areas, and we had ward leaders who would go to each member on Saturdays and collect the church dues and bring it to church and turn it in for us. So that was how we got our finances there. Like I said, each community had a ward leader, and he would collect our dues, bring them to church, and turn them in.
Did most people live right here in the Beaufort area?
Yes, they did. It's about 5 or 6 different areas here in the Beaufort area, that our members lived.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, each neighborhood had someone that would collect the dues.
Mm-hmm.
On every Saturday, they would come by each member's house, collect the dues, and then bring it to church on Sunday.
Bring it to church on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And so time passed from having a great childhood at Lake Latuna and Lake Altoona and then Sunday school and worship service. So as you moved into high school, what was the area? What was the church like at that point?
It was still going strong. I remember being picked as a delegate to go to the Hopewell Baptist Association Congress, and that was where we had that every year. Each church would send delegates. So I think it was my junior year in high school, I was picked along with my friend Janice Butler and my friend Jean Jones, and we were delegates, and we went. So we had to prepare to stay for 3 days. So our mother, Bessie Faulkner, the best chaperone in the whole world, was our chaperone, because we had to stay 3 days. We spent the night with members of the host church. We were so pleased to do that, to be able to be delegates to represent Poplar Baptist Church at that time when we were teenagers. I think we were juniors in high school, and we were able to go. And then the most important thing was my high school graduation was held here at the church. At the church, my high school graduation. So that rounds out my teenage years. Doing those 2 things, I remember those, and graduating from high school here from the church.
So did some young man take a liking to you about that area?
Well, we had friends, no special one, but we had friends.
Had to be one, because you wind up getting married, so somebody...
Well, yes. Yes. But my husband came from Athens, Georgia, really. But that's what's happened in high school. I mean, during my teenage years, my graduation here from high school, and going on that to being a delegate to represent Poplar Hill Baptist Church. And there were a lot of other good things too, but those 2 things stand out for me as my teenage years.
And then after high school, you got married.
Yes. So getting married. You remember that song that Gladys Knight used to sing about the best thing that ever happened to me?
Yeah.
Well, the best thing that ever happened to me was that I got married here at the church, and I married my fiance, Frank Wiley.
Amen.
So,
amen.
That is my adult life.
and Deacon Wiley was a deacon here in the church.
No, but Professor Wiley. No, he was principal at the high school.
Principal at the high school.
Yes,
That's
he was the
right.
principal.
That's right.
But he directed the choir, one of the choirs here
Mm-hmm.
for a while. Yes, he did. He was the director of one of the choirs. Hmm. But I was, like I said, the best thing that ever happened to me was that I met him. We got married, and we got married here at the church, Poplar Hill Baptist Church. Reverend T.H. Reeves was the pastor at that time. So those are the best things that I can remember about growing up here at Poplar Hill Baptist Church, and there's still good things going on here.
I agree. I agree. Do you remember when Pastor Head came to the church?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when he became the pastor?
Yes.
What was that like?
That was a wonderful experience. He was so friendly. And I remember Justin and Megan were little the first time we met him, and he brought them with him to a meeting that we were having. And he was so kind and generous, and we could tell that he loved children and he loved adults. And he is still proving that today by all the different programs he has brought into the church, because he has established the fifth Sunday as Youth Sunday, where all the youth take over and do all the activities in the church. He established the Mother's Board, which I'm a part of, which is really wonderful here at the church. He works with everybody, ushers, all the ministries, music ministry, ushers ministry, all the ministries in the church. He works with all of us. He cares about all of us. And we all do good things, and things are still going on now. Like now we're doing the renovation for the church. You can see all the good things that he's doing now, along with other members of the church, with the deacons working along with him. He is doing good things for this church.
Sister Maxine Green.
Yes.
Thank you for your time today to sit down and talk about your experience here at Poplar Hill and the Beaufort area. So, what's your fondest memory when you look back on the Beaufort area or here at Poplar Hill? What comes to mind?
I think one of my fondest memories would be here during VBS, Vacation Bible School. It's always in June, usually June, and just coming out and participating in that, and seeing all the kids take part in it, and how much joy they got from just the classes and the teaching, of course, the food that we would serve, or they would just enjoy that a lot, and it was just a good time to be a part of it, because you just saw their excitement. They just look forward to coming out and being a part of, participating in VBS. So that's one of them.
So how did you wind up here at Poplar Hill?
When I first relocated to Gwinnett County, I started looking for churches, and I've been to a few.
Where'd you relocate from?
South Georgia.
South Georgia.
Albany, Georgia.
Albany.
Yeah, long story. So I started looking for a church home, and I went to a lot of churches in this area, in Lawrenceville area, and they just didn't feel right. It wasn't a good experience. So a neighbor told me to come and visit her church. So I decided I was going to come out to Poplar Hill. I came out, and from the first moment I walked through the door, it was just such a warm and welcoming feeling, and people were just so kind and genuine about their emotions. And it was just, I thought, my search is over. This is what I'm going to be, where I'm going to call home. So that's how I got here.
And then what did you plug in and become a part of any ministries? Or
I did. I joined the women's ministry and enjoyed that experience. The youth ministry, I think, was the ministry that I enjoyed the most, because my daughter practically grew up here. So she just was a part of everything that the youth ministry took part in. So she really enjoyed that. So I think that would be my very best because of her.
Because of her.
And her learning experience.
And how long have you been here?
About 21 years.
Oh,
give
a
or
long
take.
time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Pastor Head was already here when you came.
I believe when I got here, they were in the interviewing process. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first sort of interactions with Pastor Head?
With Pastor, Pastor Head is just one of those kind of people. You first time you meet him, you just develop a relationship just from saying hi, how you doing? Nice to meet you. He's just a very warm, passionate person with people.
Right.
So it's just easy just to see him, and you want to engage in conversation. He'll just talk about anything and everything, and he just makes it very easy to communicate with.
The first time I met him, he put me to work.
He will do that.
Yeah. He found something for me to do, and he says, "Okay, you can do this."
Yeah.
Was there something like that he did for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. He just saw me. He said, "Why don't you consider doing this, Max?" And I said, "Okay, Pastor." Just like this interview, he said, "Max, can you do this?" I'm like, "Sure, Pastor. Be happy to." So
you don't kind of get to say no. You just kind of go,
you can't
"Okay."
say no to him, 'cause he'll just talk you into it.
Yeah, you're going to talk me into it
He's
anyway.
Talk
So
you into it. So you might as well just save the time and just say, "Yeah, I'll do it."
So, from the time that you've been here, just over 20 years, is there anything that you've noticed that has changed from the church? What's different now than from when you first started? I know some of the people may be different, but is there new ministries, new people, new approaches? Do you see a different spirit?
A lot of new ministries and new members as well. I think the biggest change to me is that's just more of a feeling of being welcome, being inclusive. If you want to be a part, there's no reason why you shouldn't be a part, because there's so much here that you could be a part of, whether it's a women's ministry or you have children, the youth ministry. So it's just so much that you can just plug into.
And what are the Vision 20 going forward? Are you excited about that? What does that mean to you? I see you have on the shirt.
I think with Pastor's vision, it's hard not to be excited, because he just seems that there's such a need for growth at Poplar Hill, and that I think under his direction and God's vision that he'll be able to bring that to pass, because we do need more space for classrooms and things like that. So I think that's something that he wants to make sure that he does, carries out.
Excellent. So, Sister Maxine Green,
yes,
thank you very much for your time today.
You're
Thanks for what your stories that you're telling are very valuable. It's going to be great that everyone else will have access to it and be able to hear this. So thank you very much for showing up.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good evening, church.
Happy anniversary. On behalf of the Douglas family, we just like to say we love ourselves from Poplar Hill Baptist Church. I've been attending Poplar Hill Baptist for 19 years, and two things that really stand out for me is the spirit that dwells among us in the church, and the other is how Poplar Hill interact with the youth. I just love the way we train up the kids in the way they should go.
Also, what stands out to me at Poplar Hill is becoming a deacon on the deacon ministry and the responsibilities that entails along with it. I love serving. Also, Poplar Hill is a family-oriented church where love is the greatest. Our kids are highly favored, above average, and well-rounded.
Hello, Poplar Hill Baptist Church. Cody and Courtney Kroll here from Kroll Brothers Funeral Home and Crematory, your neighbors down the street. We're here and glad to share a moment of recognition and congratulations on your anniversary of 137 years.
Greetings, Poplar Hill. I'm Veronica Cope, and I'm your next Gwinnett County State Court Judge. I just wanted to come by to congratulate you on your 137th church anniversary. You have been a cornerstone in this community for many years. Again, congratulations, Pastor and First Lady Head and Poplar Hill, on 137 years of service to the community.
Hi, I am State Representative Dewey McClain of House District 100 in Gwinnett County. Let me say thanks to Pastor Avery Head and to the congregation of Poplar Hill Missionary Baptist Church for always supporting me and my campaign. Linda and I would like to congratulate you all on your 137th church anniversary and pray that the next 137 years are just as prosperous. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you all soon in person at the Church on the Hill. Poplar Hill.
Greetings in Christ. To Pastor Avery Head and the Poplar Hill congregation and family, as mayor of the city of Norcross, I would like to offer my heartfelt congratulations on you celebrating your 137th anniversary. What a milestone. You know, this year has been a year that we will never forget for the rest of our lives, as the coronavirus has captured the attention of the world. And so many of our church traditions have been interrupted in ways that we never dreamed possible, and yet we're here today. We may be here electronically by Zoom, but we are here today. And we're here by the grace of God, and we're here through the steadfast leadership, Pastor, provided by you and those who came before you here at Poplar Hill. So again, God bless you, and God bless your congregation, and may He grant you many, many more happy anniversaries.